Hello, welcome to our security program, which we cover the latest stories that matter security issues in the continent from west to east. With me, Hamse Daabjeerin, ahead on the program. Clashes between Sufi militia and Al-Shabaab erupted in Iran. Ethiopia ready to resume dam talks with Egypt and Sudan. Rwanda says 2 soldiers detained in Congo have been released. Plus, 100 people killed after tribal clashes erupt in Darfur. Welcome to our program. Clashes between Sufi militia and Al-Shabaab broke out in Hiran region of Somalia. The two sides claimed victory in the attack. Residents expressed a deep concern over the matter and called on to restore the tension. Clashes between Sufi militia and Al-Shabaab have erupted in Matapan village of Hiran region. Residents said the fight was heavy and lasted a few hours before the situation turned to normalcy. The two sides claimed victory. The Sufi group said they have apprehended weapons belonging to Al-Shabaab and took over the control of the battlefields. Al-Shabaab also denied the claim and said their troop is facing no casualties. CBA cannot independently verify the actual casualties, but residents noted it was heavy and asked the warring side to restore the peace and stability in the region. The federal government has also not commented on this matter. Ethiopia has shown readiness to resume talks with Egypt and Sudan on a large contentious Blue Nile dam, dubbed as Africa's largest hydroelectric power plant when completed. Ethiopia's foreign ministry on Friday quoted the ambassador to the United States as saying Ethiopia's interest to resume the African Union-led trilateral negotiation over the Chad on Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
Ethiopia's foreign ministry on Friday quoted the ambassador to the United States as saying Ethiopia's interest to resume the African Union-led trilateral negotiation over the JERD or Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The country's ambassador to the United States, who before now acted as the negotiator on the dam, made this known during the meeting with the U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, Mike Harmer. The mega dam is a multi-billion-dollar project expected to bring electricity to millions of off-grid Ethiopians, but Sudan and Egypt posited that it will reduce the amount of water they receive from the Nile River. Series of unyielding negotiations ensued among Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan, while Sudan opined that the operation of the JERD by Ethiopia will affect its water for domestic use and agriculture. Egypt fears the filling of the dam will reduce its share of Nile waters and seeks a binding legal agreement in case of a dispute. Against all odds, Ethiopia proceeded with the filling of the dam and started producing power from 1 unit of the dam from February this year. The Foreign Ministry spokesman Dina Mufti told reporters on Friday that the third filling of the dam is on schedule this year. He said Ethiopia had been saying that since the start of the dam's construction, that tripartite talks will continue.
Rwanda authorities confirmed the release of 2 Rwandan soldiers detained in DRC Congo last month. The DRC Congo accused of sending its troops to its territory to support rebel groups against the government. 2 Rwandan soldiers captured by the Democratic Republic of Congo's army last month and accused by Congolese authorities of supporting a rebel offensive have been released. Congo said the 2 soldiers were detained inside its territory, which it cited as evidence Rwanda is backing the ongoing offensive by M23 rebels. On Thursday, it escalated its accusation is blaming Rwanda for sending 500 special forces in this squeeze into eastern Congo. Rwanda denies this and in turn accuses Congo's army of firing into its own territory and of fighting alongside the FDLR, an armed group run by ethnic Hutus who fled Rwanda after taking part in the 1994 genocide. The Congolese army's statement also said that M23 rebels supported by Rwanda had attacked a United Nations peacekeeping force in the Rutshuru area, also in North Kivu, and had injured 3 Tanzanian peacekeepers. Senior Al-Shabaab operative has been arrested following a security operation in the Lower Shabelle region. Local authorities confirmed on Sunday. In recent months, the Somali military has intensified operations against Al-Shabaab fighters in the region, but We will be back after the short break.
You are watching CBA TV.
Welcome back again. Senior Al-Shabaab operative has been arrested following a security operation in the Lower Shabelle region. Local authorities confirmed it on Sunday. In recent months, the Somali military has intensified operations against Al-Shabaab fighters in the region. The federal troops of Somalia claimed to have arrested a senior Al-Shabaab fighter in the Lower Shabelle region during a security military operation. Security officers said the operation took place in Alia Paro village. Regional authorities noted that the operation was planned and aimed to target Al-Shabaab fighters in the region who carry out attacks against civilians and government officials. The group has yet to comment on this matter without disclosing his photo. Security officials identified the suspect as Muallim Yahya and said he was in charge of improvised explosive devices in the village. The military officials pledged to continue the operation until they completely flushed out the group from the city. Authorities have asked residents to collaborate with the security forces and report immediately after they see suspicious acts against the security to prevent future attacks orchestrated by Al-Shabaab. The United Nations Refugee Agency says tribal clashes over the past week in Sudanese war-ravaged Darfur have been killed around 100 people. Conflict between Arab and non-Arab groups has escalated over the last year in Darfur, where there is intense competition for land and access to water for livestock.
The United Nations Refugee Agency says tribal clashes over the past week in Sudan's war-ravaged Darfur have killed around 100 people. Conflict between Arab and non-Arab groups has escalated over the last year in Darfur, where there is intense competition for land and access to water for livestock. Toby Howard, a coordinator with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, said the fighting grew out of a land dispute between Arab and African tribes in the town of Kolbos in West Darfur province. He added that local Arab militias attacked multiple villages in the area, forcing thousands of people to flee. A leader of the Gemir community said 14 villages were burnt last week during clashes with the Arab Rizigat community. The United Nations Special Representative for Sudan, Volker Perthes, said he was appalled by the violence and said the root causes needed to be addressed. Since last year, eruptions of tribal violence and surges in the fighting in Darfur have killed hundreds of people. Kamel Sadiq, CBA TV.
A pro-democracy group of Sudan meets with generals from the government to discuss the power transfer from military to civilians. The group previously denied having meetings with the military until they agreed to a peaceful transfer. A Sudanese pro-democracy group met with the country's ruling army for the first time since the military coup last October. Civilians were represented by members of the Forces of Freedom and Change (FFC), an alliance which combines several political parties and militants. This pro-democracy group, which initially refused to sit with the generals led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has been insisting on the necessity of power transfer from the army to civilians, an end to all violence against protesters. Since the military coup, many human rights groups inside and outside Sudan have been denouncing the violent repression carried out against protesters. UN experts say at least one protester was shot by security forces and another died after inhaling tear gas at the end of May. Human Rights Watch warned at the end of April hundreds of people were held in prison and mistreated. And with that story of pro-democracy group of Sudan meeting with generals from the government to discuss the power transfer from military to civilians, we'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. This is me, Hamse Daabjeerin.